a huge part of playing Dynasty Fantasy Football is rebuilding your Dynasty team. We're to the point now where if you're 1-3, 0-4, where you're looking at the standings, you might be like, this team is actually dog crap. I have a couple teams that have AJ Brown, that have Puka, that have a bunch of guys at Cooper Kupp that have been injured. Christian McCaffrey, I have a couple of. And so those Dynasty teams like are getting to the point now where it's almost too late for me. And so how do you rebuild your Dynasty team in a way that sets you up for success in the future and also lets you approach this year in a way that doesn't completely tank your Dynasty team, right? It's a fine line to walk, and a lot of people do it the wrong way. But you need to know first how to know that you should rebuild. When should I decide? When should I blow it up? That's a lot of the questions we get. The correct answer is you don't want to go any later than week 7 or 8 probably before you decide to blow it up. But the most advantageous range to decide that you're going to go into a rebuild is going to be weeks 5. So this is going to be this next week through week 8. This next 3 weeks is when you're going to be deciding on your Dynasty teams, should I contend or should I not? You're going to be looking at 3 metrics here. Number 1 is going to be standings, because most of our playoffs still are determined by standings. And if that's the case for you, you need to look at yourself and say, am I a top 6 team, or am I a team that can easily get into the top 6 in the standings? If the answer to that is yes, you do not need to rebuild. If the answer to that is no, you're going to consider rebuilding. The next thing you're going to look at is points for. From a points for perspective, am I ranked in the top 6 or 7? And is my team getting better? If that's so, you probably don't need to rebuild. If you find yourself in the bottom 3 or 4 of points for, you're probably really thinking about rebuilding. Max points for also helps, because it basically tells you if your points for is bad, but your max points for is high, it just means you're bad at starting your players. So start your good players for the love of all that is holy. But if your max points for, say your points for is 6th and your max points for is like 9th, that means you've been really good at starting your players. And at their ceiling, your team is performing as a fringe playoff team. That might be a team I'm considering rebuilding on, right? And then we're looking again at points against. And points against can tell you how lucky have I been with the matchups that I faced this season. If you have a really low points against score, but your points for is like 8th or 9th in the league, that's when I'm considering rebuilding. In fact, I probably would rebuild, because odds are you're not going to, even if you get to the playoffs, from a points for perspective, from a firepower perspective, from a production perspective, you're probably not in a position where you can win your league. And that's the main thing. And I don't think, look, all you have to do is get into the playoffs. And what typically ends up happening is you have 6 or 7, usually it's 7 teams, sometimes it's 8 teams that decide I'm going for the playoffs. You have at least 4 teams that commit to a rebuild. And so the other thing to do is just start watching your league and then keep track of who's rebuilding, who's acquiring picks, who's getting rid of value that's going to decline, who's accumulating future value, and who's clearly going for it. That can sometimes make the decision for you, because if you're a middle of the road team and you have a ton of teams that are going and saying, I'm going to get these productive running backs, I'm going to sell off my youth, I'm selling my picks. If you see you've got 8 teams doing that, that makes your decision for you. If you're a middle of the road team and you see a bunch of teams are trying to jump, then it might be advantageous for you to just do a 1-year reload instead. But that's how you know if you should rebuild or not. It's going to depend on all of those metrics in your standings. And then it's going to depend on part of it is your gut. Like, you always do have teams that do turn it around. But it is also, like, if you have a middle of the road team, can you make enough moves? A lot of times getting this decision out of the way early really helps, because you can get to some of the productive contending assets that are being sold before other teams in your league. So we talked about other teams jumping up to contend. You can actually do that before them, and you get a jump on them. And so that's when you decide, which is the next 3 weeks, and how to go about it. Now we're going to talk about how you should actually rebuild your Dynasty team. And it's all centered around the little word that starts with a V that we say quite a bit.
Value. Yes, it is that time of year again. It is the value time of year. It really is all the time in Dynasty Fantasy Football, but you need to make sure that once you've decided that you are or aren't rebuilding, really that you're going to rebuild, you need to make sure that you're getting rid of declining value. Any asset on your team that does not have really close to a good chance at increasing in value from here on out, they need to be off your team. What does that generally mean from a practicality perspective? It means most running backs should be off your team, if not all, because they are so volatile. Even though they have the chance of increasing in value here and there, they have just as good a chance at decreasing value any given moment. That also means that any veteran wide receivers that you have that are 29 years old, 30, 31, you know that regardless of what they do From a production perspective in 2024, the Dynasty community hates old players in the offseason. So at this point, if you're rebuilding, it doesn't matter what I think about Tyreek Hill's production outlook for the rest of the year. You need to get him off your team. That is an objective fact. He will not be worth more in March of 2025 than he is now. That's just the reality of it. Even with the contract extension, age terrifies Dynasty players. So you're kind of dictated by the market there, right? So any declining value assets, they need to be off your team. And what are you getting in return for those declining assets? Guaranteed value upside. Guaranteed assets that you know without a shadow of a doubt are going to increase in value. And what is that? Number one, first and foremost, it's rookie picks. It doesn't have to be firsts. Heck, it doesn't even have to be seconds. Thirds are valuable a lot of times. Seconds are sometimes the best bang for your buck assets that you can get right now at price because people are still pretty stingy with their 25 firsts. But seconds are flowing like freaking water. Like they're just going all over the place right now. You can get them pretty easily for guys like Calvin Ridley, for example. Calvin Ridley I really like as a contending asset. I like him less right now because Will Levis looks absolutely atrocious. But you can pretty easily get a second for him if a contender's desperate for a wide receiver. There are plenty of people that would willingly trade that price or pay that price to go get a guy like Calvin Ridley who does have some solid contending upside this year. So keep that in mind. Rookie picks, again, and you've heard this story before, so we're not going to spend ages on the rookie pick specifically, but that's what you want to be targeting when you're moving away those declining assets.
Yeah, and again, one of the best ways to know if you should rebuild or not is to let us help you with that. We are doing Dynasty team reviews. I mean, we have done thousands of Dynasty team reviews. I'm not exaggerating.
Not kidding.
This is what we do. We are the team review guys. So we would love to sit down and be able to review your team. You can do that at flockfantasy.com/domain. I'll put the link in the pinned comment and in the description. But basically, if you sign up with the annual Motherflocker tier and you use code domain, you're going to get a free team blueprint. And the team blueprint is going to have everything you need. It's going to have your 3-year outlook. Should you reload this year? Should you contend this year? Should you rebuild? And then what you should do the next 2 years. What your team build actually looks like. Are you a dual elite QB, a well-rounded team, a future value team already, right? We're going to go into your positional grades and grade that out. We should definitely see positions like running back and tight end go down on a rebuilding team. And so we can help you with all of this. We literally do this all the time, and we have gotten to the point where it's pretty much a science. So, like I said, flockfantasy.com/domain. Use code domain, and Motherflocker gets you a free one, or you can get one a la carte on the site as well. But again, a lot of people approach these rebuilds the wrong way. And the main thing that people do that's just extremely stupid
drives me up a wall
is they tank. They tank from a production perspective. Guys, this doesn't matter. I'm going to paint this picture for you in 2 sentences. Last year, if you didn't worry about production and you kept some productive assets on your team and you just went about your rebuild the correct way, you got the 103 and you drafted Jaden Daniels.
Facts.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where your early pick is, right? Yes, and for production, hopefully your league, when they're determining draft order, is reverse max points for, which is going to make the worst team have the first pick and so on and so forth. It's not a bad thing to not have the most awful team ever. We saw this for years in a row in Dynasty where people were destroying their teams for Bijan Robinson. You saw it last year for Caleb Williams and Marv. And the problem is you get these high-end guys. If you destroyed your team for Bijan, your team's probably not that good right now because Bijan has lost some value even. And so people tank and just decimate their teams for these top guys. One guy cannot save you, especially a quarterback in a Superflex league at this point in where the NFL landscape has fallen. So don't worry about production. You're going to lose production when you trade away guys that are going to lose value because those are typically productive veterans, right? But don't offload all of your productive assets at a discount just so you could get the 101. Because
when you don't even know that you're going to get the 101 for a fact.
You don't know that.
You don't know
that. You could have somebody break out on your team. People who chase just getting all the points they can off their team are playing Dynasty and rebuilding the wrong way. This is absolutely wrong. Points 4 in particular is marginal, it's unpredictable, and it's volatile as crap, dude. It's more volatile than the value of a running back. Mm-hmm. How about that? And so people who, again, are trying to send off their production in order to get the 101, do not do it. Do not center your rebuild around scoring the least amount of points. This is the wrong way to do it. In the long run, it's actually going to hurt you because, again, you're sending away some productive assets where when we're doing rebuilds, we don't want to rebuild that long. We don't like 2-year rebuilds. That's 2 year throwing away your money.
Yep.
We don't want to do that. We like money. Money's cool. So Prioritize down tiering, target assets with value upside. And again, don't worry about points. Don't even think about it. You are going to be able to rebuild regardless of where your draft pick falls.
Yeah, you're really limiting the way that you play Dynasty overall, right? The reason we play Dynasty Fantasy Football is because it adds another dimension to your game theory, right? In fantasy football and regular redraft, you're playing on a single two-dimensional line. It's less points and it's more points. And the team that scores more points wins championships, right? When your rebuild is based entirely on just getting the least amount of production, you're playing on the same scale that contenders are playing. Does that make any sense at all in Dynasty Fantasy Football when you're playing in 3-year windows and you're playing the long game as a rebuild anyways? No, it doesn't make any sense at all. You shouldn't be production shouldn't be even on your mind. It shouldn't be on your mind. If you score 150 points in a week and you're rebuilding, you should be like, dang, I'm looking like I'm going to be in pretty good shape in 2025.
Those teams, when they have those weeks as rebuilding teams,
yes,
they end up as the top team the next year.
Almost always. And like, it just drives me absolutely nuts. You need to leverage production. You need to leverage production, not throw it away. And you need to turn that production into long-lasting value and value upside. That is the name of the Dynasty Fantasy Football game. And I will preach it from the rooftops. I will preach it from this studio forever until you guys get it down. And get it down until we get better and better and better every single year at playing Dynasty Fantasy Football as a community, right? We need to look at rebuilds in a different light than we have been forever, right? Ignore production. Ignore it. Don't worry about freaking Derrick Henry being on your team until week 10 while he drops 30 a week. Someone's going to pay you, dare I say, a couple firsts for him when they get really desperate. A contender will.
That would be wild.
I got 2 seconds for Adam Thielen last year.
That's true.
So I'm just saying.
So the thing is, especially when we're kind of transitioning now to trading with your league mates that are contending, because what ends up happening again is you have, I said 8-4, that's a 12 team. If it's a 10 team league, you're probably going to have 6-4 or 7-3 or something like that. And so you kind of take the proportions from there.
Yeah.
But you're going to have your league split down the middle, and the goal it's really a spectrum to start the season. You've got like the hard rebuilds, which are normally like only 1 or 2 guys, and then it's like the productive struggles, and then you've got the contenders, and then you've got the favorite, right? And so it's a kind of a spectrum. And then once you get to this point where everybody starts deciding what to do with their team, it's not a spectrum. It's black or it's white. You are rebuilding or you are contending. And so when you as a rebuild are dealing with contending players, how do you approach trading with them? And Nathan mentioned something. We talk about rookie picks. Rookie picks are the only asset in Dynasty Fantasy Football guaranteed to go up in value. From a strategy standpoint in Dynasty Fantasy Football, here's a specific strategy point for you. Seconds are more valuable than they used to be. Thirds are more valuable than we used to think they were. Seconds in particular, you can get good players with second round picks around draft time. I know this from multiple years now of acquiring seconds and then dealing them away because I'm like, heck, I can get some good guys with these picks. The other side of that is the NFL and the rookies coming in the NFL are so talented that some of the guys you're getting in the second round, it's bananas. It's insane. You had first round talents last year being drafted in the second round of dynasty drafts, and a lot of times you'll have fringe first round talents going at the end of the second round of rookie drafts because dynasty players pick their favorite players in their favorite situations and they push guys up. So what you saw last year were guys like Troy Franklin, who Troy Franklin hasn't done anything in the league so far, being pushed up into the second round of dynasty drafts over running backs with decent draft capital like Braylon Allen. Like even Bucky Irving, when you're talking about, Bucky Irving didn't have that great of draft capital, but how often now are we seeing 4th and 5th round running backs come out and have a role in the NFL? That should be valued differently. And there are more of those guys now to go around in the late second. Both of those are guys you can get in the second round last year. Seconds are more valuable. Thirds are more valuable for the same reason. The depth of the classes are obviously getting a little bit larger, and also you're getting guys that are getting pushed down in the third round. So I'm not treating second round picks as even though they're not first, like they're still really valuable. And so that is a specific strategy point for you. But we talked about picks. Picks are the only asset guaranteed to increase in value. Other targets on a rebuilding team. Rookie wide receivers. They hold their value at a higher rate than almost any other type of position in Dynasty Fantasy Football. young handcuff running backs that are one injury away, because you can get easy value wins on a rebuild. That's really valuable. You can go for those type of guys. Any player that is not in the latter half of their career is likely going to maintain their value at minimum. And it is wise to kind of diversify in your dynasty value portfolio and have some guys that will maintain, have some guys that are upside. So they might go up, they might go down, and then have some guaranteed production upside in rookie picks. Because again, you're looking at all of those things. You've got the guaranteed upside in rookie picks. So you're definitely going to increase in value. You've got, but you can't have all rookie picks, right? And you can't have all rookies on your team. We see teams that sometimes go so far in the direction of picks that they have no veterans at all. And then the mistake that they make is they're going in with 10 rookie picks. They're drafting 10 rookies.
And they pick them all.
And rookies have a hit rate of 5 out of 10. So then you've only got 5 good players. And so that part of that is strategy before the draft of trading your rookie picks if you have a lot of them. But don't go all rookie picks. Get the guaranteed increased value. Get the guaranteed maintained value.
Insulation.
And then go get the upside. Mm-hmm. Those 3 things and balancing those is going to give you a dynasty value portfolio that will give you the flexibility next year to do whatever you want. You could contend even. How about that? Your goal in dynasty should be to contend. It should never be to rebuild. This video, if you're watching this video, you should be crying right now. It should be tears rolling down your face. You don't want to rebuild. You do not want to give away money.
Yeah.
Don't get on Dynasty Twitter. You'll have Twitter idiots that tell you, I've got this team, and they're going to see, and they're like, that team's not scoring. That team's going to be good in 3 years. Who cares?
Yep.
Who cares?
Yep. You also see a lot of people that panic on different platforms as well, too. And they just, when they decide that they're rebuilding, again, we're going into week 5. A lot of you guys are, for a fact that you're a rebuilding team this year. It has not been the year that you expected, right? And what I would implore you to do is please be patient. Rebuilding is a process. It's not let's tear this building down and blow it up overnight, right? You can do this over multiple weeks. You can take your time. You can leverage your contending league mates for as long as you want, really until the trade deadline. And like I said, guys like Derrick Henry, who were worth a second going into the season, you're going to be able to get a first for them, or maybe even more in some leagues if you're lucky, because he is being so productive right now. You just have to wait. The closer you get to the playoffs, the more the contending teams know they have a chance to make a run in the playoffs. So why wouldn't they pay up for a contending asset, right? That you own. So make sure you take advantage of that. Be patient. You don't do this overnight. You've got all season, right? In a dynasty league, if you're rebuilding, your focus is making your team better, not your starting lineup, not the players that you wish you had that were producing, right? It's all about just continuing to gain value. You want to do this weekly, not overnight. Maximize the value return that you can get.
And again, the reason you can do this is because we talk about this all the time. We talk about trading with leverage. You have all of the leverage.
You have all the leverage.
And so when you have all the leverage, you can be as patient as you want. And what's the worst case scenario? The worst case scenario is you hold contending assets into the offseason. Darn. You're contending next year anyways. That's the worst case scenario, is you lose a bit of value. But you should have enough value insulation in rookie picks to where it's not going to matter. It should offset, right? Mm-hmm. And so, again, you have all the leverage as a rebuilding team. And it is going to be a bidding war from the contending teams for your assets. And so make sure you keep that in mind and use that to your advantage. Leverage is a huge thing in Dynasty. It's one of the biggest things that can get somebody really far with the team. I'm already using it a lot. I mean, I've used it a lot with players that have broken out early this year that I don't think have that good a high upside like Dynasty ceiling. And from a value standpoint, use leverage. Use it. And so, again, I implore you, we don't do team blueprints just for like, oh, we offer this as a product, we do it, and it's part of what we do. We freaking love doing team blueprints. And this is our thing. This strategy, the conceptual, the theory, this is what we do. And you can ask anybody. I'm sure if you've gotten a team blueprint, drop in the comments and say how good your experience is. Because occasionally you have some people that don't end up liking their team blueprint. For 99% of our customers, they love their team blueprints. And they love the process of us walking through that with them. And so, again, if you don't buy a team blueprint, look, we're going to get enough to where we're going to be fine. So it's not just, I'm not sitting here giving you a sales pitch. I'm telling you, we care about this stuff. We care about you winning money. That's why we do this. We literally are here to help you win. And I hope it was clear in this video. But again, come get a team blueprint and let us help you. We can help you. I mean, and then there are some of you that might say, yeah, these guys are idiots. I don't want them helping me into that. I'd say, yeah, you're probably right. But still, we'd love to have you over there. So, like I said, flockfantasy.com/domain to get yours. But make sure you drop a like on this video. And if you play Dynasty, look, we do this so much that we map out all of this theory for you to help you. Again, you've got to win your league. You've got to win money. Money. You got to win money.
Money.
So make sure you subscribe if you
It's like Toy Story.
Yeah. Make sure you subscribe to play Dynasty. But appreciate you guys so much. We'll see you this week with another video. Peace out.